Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Book to Block, the series where I bring my fantasy novel to life in Minecraft, one block at a time. In the last episode, we worked on this watchtower up here. Got a nice look at it. So it's really fitting in the village. We're really starting to come together. In today's episode, we're going to be working on something right beside it, right down here. The blacksmith. So let's get to planning. Alright, so we got the first platform started here. I kind of went gaps of 4 in between each of the logs. Got a little center stage path up here, so we can connect the path to here. This is quite a large build compared to some of the other ones. Maybe not as big as the tavern, but being it's only a blacksmith, we got plenty of area to work around with. So I'm thinking that we're going to have the blacksmith area kind of in this back corner. Have a kind of little house on this side, so maybe coming up on this to around here, just so it's like offset a little bit. And then we can have some like workstations or storage for certain things getting ready to be sold. I'm gonna have a big furnace, probably since this is the blacksmith area, probably in this area, so I'll remove these posts and add in a large kind of kiln furnace that'll go above the roof. So let's get on to the next part, which is gonna be kind of these railings. So what I'm going to do is I want to grab a dark oak slab and a little unconventional, this, and then a trapdoor. So these are just going to go on these posts just to kind of top them off. And then for these, if I zoom back out with this infinite, I can click this and it doesn't even open the sign. So it's kind of a barrier here, but it goes a little bit better when you add the sign here like this. So just a nice little railing, a little bit unique, not the regular ones you usually see. You can kind of go around and add these in here like this. It's a little harder to add these. You have to hold space and shift to click on those. So I want the line of the chain bit to go in one direction here. So I'll go around the sides with that, and then I can start building up the buildings on top of the platform. Alright, so I've added in the railings here, kind of raised up these bits so we can kind of see where the house is going to be. So I'm going to have the front door here. These tall bits will be the inside, so it'll go straight back, a nice rectangle. So this area will be kind of the indoors. And then from these 4 points here, this will be the blacksmith area. So it'll have a roof over this area, a big furnace here, some other like tools and building stuff, and then we can have all this area for different types of workbenches or work areas and storage for the different types of equipment. So now let's start building up onto this housing area first. Alright, so there's the kind of bare bones, the skeleton. I started up with the walls on the internal area, leaving a little bit of gap for the door. So for this, I wanted to use these tough walls to kind of get a inset a little bit of the depth in the build. But the problem happens is when you have this door. So there's a gap here, and even when you bring it to the front, there's still a gap. So the way I found to solve this, since the door and the trapdoors have very similar pattern, you can just add these on the back side here, close them up. So it looks good on the inside, no gap. And it also looks good on the outside. A little bit of a pattern difference, but it keeps the same texture sort of thing. It just adds a little bit of a different type of door opening. I can do the same for this one over here. Open it up. And then trapdoors. Doesn't matter if it's top or bottom, these will all be closed, and the texture is the same either way. Then over here, this is going to be the blacksmith area. I made it a little taller so there's more area to kind of work with. I think in the center here we'll have the kind of forge, so we can kind of mark that off a little bit further back. So this entire thing will go up a little taller than this, because the roof will be on top of this. So we'll have a forge on this back bit. I'm thinking of having a nice little staircase down here to kind of an open yard for storage. Sort of like an area where they store the coal for keeping the forge going, or like the iron that's brought in from the mountains to be forged into other things. And then plenty of space out here, like I said, for like maybe a workshop, maybe like a little storage yard for finished products and stuff like that. So the next thing I'm going to work on is the roof. Alright, and there's kind of the basic roof. I'm going to add a little bit more detail so it's not quite as flat. You can see like these bits flows just right through. I kind of want to offset that maybe a little bit so it's not so smooth. I'll go in later with a little bit of texture, especially with like this floor, with something similar in color just to break up the pattern. Same with the roof here. This bit, something like that, we kind of want to connect it up. I've extended up the walls here, saw at the very end. Just kind of smooth that out. I'll do the same texturing with this, but I left this area open so I can input the forge here. So it'll kind of be approximately like this large. We want it to go straight up, so this wooden beam will disappear. It'll kind of just go into the sides of the forge, thinking about 1, 2, 3, 4. So a 4 by 4 approximately, and then area for kind of the chimney of it. So that's one thing there. I'll have to do the internals here. It's a little dark in here. Let's grab a lantern. See a little bit better. Couple around. So I'm thinking for the internals here, just a basic open way. Maybe a little kitchen back here. I'll have to punch in some windows, maybe one here, here, and maybe one on the end here. And then this looks like a nice little loft, so I might put a second floor just for like maybe the bedroom for the blacksmiths to live, so they live in the shop itself. So then I'll probably have to go with a ladder because I don't have a lot of space in here for a nice little staircase. If I were to do a spiral staircase, it'd be very tight and I don't want it to be too cramped. So I think a ladder works for that. So I think the next thing we're going to work on is the forge. Alright, and here's the forge. So you got the nice hot burning fire using the hay bales underneath for the extra smoke. I went for blackstone, even though I don't really have it in this area, it just kind of works. You want kind of a darker compared to this, is the deep slate's the kind of the darkest in the stone of the mountains. So blackstone just goes a little bit further. I connected this bit up here, and then kind of chimneys out, kind of tapers off and kind of moves closer to the roof, controls it a little bit. Went for these stairs just for a little bit of difference, so it's not just a flat wall, just a little bit of detail in that. You could probably add in a little bit, maybe just going like these sort of thing, just to get even more detail in there. Kind of looks interesting. Yeah, it looks cool. So I can go in and play around with that, make it a little bit more detail on that side. But I think this works well. I also added in my staircase, like I said, so I can go to like the storage yard of coal and iron and such. Next, I'm thinking of these kind of feel a little bit bare, so I want to go into with tough. I'm gonna go with a polished tough wall. I'm just gonna make a little barrier, like just an edge on this, just a little bit more. See, fill in that gap there. Don't want that showing. Then I'm gonna do the same for this side, just to kind of bring it all together. Match this tough to the wood and stuff like that. Bring it on the log, and then bring that down there instead. I can probably add something to make it connect a little bit better, but that adds a little bit more, just kind of brings it together on this side as well. So I think next, I'm gonna start working on the housing pit. Alright, so a little bit more decorated in here. Walls are still a little bit bare, maybe when I do the texturing that might help a little bit. So I kind of kept the pale oak, same as these signs, just for a little color, just to keep the same. So if I come back here, you can kind of match up there just so it's a little consistent there. Got a nice little dining tables maybe. It's a large family or maybe they invite people in a lot. I like using these chiseled bookshelves kind of just as like empty storage. You don't even have to put books on them. It just can be seen kind of as shelving. It'll be kind of similar to what the new snapshot has with the new shelving, but this one gives a nice full block. Sort of like what you can do with trapdoors, but it just gives a little bit of variety. Nice little side table here, you can put anything on it, and then back into the kitchen. They had a smoker going, kind of just as a nice furnace. A little cauldron with some water to wash your hands, a little bit of lighting just to keep the area lit. I can add a couple more things up here. I've just been using these flower pots with azalea bushes just as temporary. And then we come on up to the bedroom. And here we are. So we got a bit of storage, even opens with the stairs on top. Kind of smoothed out the area. Bit more storage here. Nice little bed. Again, I'm using these kind of just empty shelving. Nice little window. I went for the slabs instead of the fences for this one, just a little different. So it just kind of smooths in with the out here. If we hop on out, kind of works well, blends in with the roof kind of edging here, the dark oak, so that works well. So now on the outside here, I kind of want to add in a little bit of detail here, so I'm going to remove these. And then we're going to go in with some trapdoors. I'm going to go different for this one, so we're going to use the dark oak. And then let's go for some grass, so grass block. And then if I surround this, then I can add some flowers here. So if we go to natural, just grab a couple. This, maybe a firefly bush. We can change that around, and we can do the same over here. I'm gonna grab 1, 2, 3, trapdoor it up. There we go, and then just some flowers. I'll change that up so it's not just so many of the same, but I think that's good. And then if we look from the inside here, adds a little bit of color. You can even get a couple of these fireflies making their way inside. But that's mostly the finish of the inside. I added this, changed the edging here to stairs instead of the slabs, just for a little bit more, kind of like crown molding, like I like to do for interiors. Just adds a little bit more so it's not just flat to the wall. I'll probably think of some more things to add to like fill in these empty gaps, but next up, I'm gonna start working on the blacksmith area. So we can go in here, I'll clear my inventory. Let's grab an anvil, slightly chipped, like it's used quite a bit. One of those over here. We'll grab a smithing table. Grab that over to this side. I'm gonna grab another cauldron. Instead of a sink this time, it's kind of used for quenching and stuff like that. Over here, I'm thinking of making like a table. So let's grab some stairs. We're gonna go for maybe some spruce. I think this is how I'm gonna attach this. So I'll go over up here. Remove this one as well. So that kind of, if I go like that, that finishes that off there. I can bring this back down so it's sitting on the table itself. Drag these along. And then I'm going to do the same for this one, so they're both sitting on the table. I can add in a block. Maybe not the same as the floor, so let's look for a block. Alright, so I think I'm going to go polish deep slate. Just a little bit of different compared to the cobbled, but looks a little bit nicer. You can go and grab things like some candles, maybe another potted plant, so you have to have something in it. Add a little bit more detail there. And I always like to just go to the functional blocks and kind of just scroll around. So we're going to need a sharpening, so the grindstone, I think I'm going to put it over here. Maybe another little table to hold. And then let's get that, so we can kind of use this as a workstation. And then, of course, you gotta have your barrel pile. As is the dwarves of my world, they love to have their piles of barrels. Just not the most organized, but adds a little bit there. I think I'm gonna have, so if we go to composter, just a couple in the center here. And then I'm going to grab a couple of entities. So let's go for a sword, iron. Let's rotate that around. And then place that in, maybe have it leaning against the side. Copy and paste that. Grab another one. Okay. Just rotate them around so that they're all kind of sitting in there. Grab more. So now we got, maybe this is a barrel set to be sent to the guards for the walls, or maybe to the main city to arm up the siding. So let's group those together so it's all nice as one, so I can move around to each one if I need to. I can add in a couple maybe barrels full of shovels or axes and such. But I think I'm gonna add in maybe, let's go for some dark. So I've got the dark oak here. Grab it like that. Be on the edge like this. I'm gonna go for a trapdoor. Keep it with the dark oak theme. Maybe grab a lantern, steal that one. Ooh. Replace it again. Toss that there. Let's have a look at what it looks like at nighttime. Just for lighting. I think maybe grab one up to here. Same with over here. So we got enough lighting, I think, on the outside. Perhaps just one over here to light up this area if they're ever working late. And then, what I'm thinking, I'm gonna have a sign. So if I grab a stair here, like this, and then something like this, and then I'm gonna grab just a temporary block, and sort of like how I've got it over here, but this time we're gonna create, I'm going to go for an iron bar. See if you can guess what I'm planning for this one. Rotate that 90, so I'm holding control to do that, to jump it in increments. Drag this up here, rotate it a little bit. Can you guess what it is yet? And there we go. So rotate 90 again. Try and bring it as close as I can. It's a little hard when you're flying. There we go. You can see a little bit better during the day. It's kind of a hammer. I might double up this just to make it slightly larger of a handle. Drag that in there. And there we go. So now we got a hammer for the blacksmith. So it's kind of their sign to show, yes, this is the blacksmith. Maybe not that one. We want to kind of thicken that up so it's nice and strong. And that's most of the exterior. All right, before we get on to the final kind of texturing of most of the walls and the floor here, I want to fix up this roof. Because right now, yes, it's a good contrast with the dark oak, with the cobble, deep slate, but it looks way too flat for my liking. So instead of having it just straight of just these stairs, I'm gonna add in like this. So that does make a mess with this, but what we can do, since it's not too much of a problem, we can fix it like that. So then if we head on inside just to check out if that's messing with anything. So we're gonna have this probably change to the deep slate. But having like this, so I'm gonna go alternating like that. Then I'm also gonna switch on like this. And then continue up like that. It just adds a little bit more detail to the roofing. So I'm gonna do a quick time lapse of me fixing all of this because it'll take a little bit of time. So let's go to that. Alright, so there's the roof. Kind of a little bit more detail on the flat part of it. And I went for kind of the spiky top bit with the stairs up into the sign here. Little hanging off bits for our lanterns like I did earlier. So then when doing this, I have to be careful because sometimes, you can see here, So I had to go in and replace these guys and then make sure that everything works on the inside. So I got a line going down here and here, just so it's all kind of same. And then one final detail before I get to the texturing. I want to grab a trapdoor in these ones. I kind of want to make braces. So like these, like that. Just go along and add these to here. And then I'm going to grab this, like this, fill in this gap here that I missed. And then just go around adding these on all of the areas that kind of are attached to the stairs here. Go around and do that. And there we go. So I've just gone around, added those to the different edges. I changed these up to stairs instead of slabs so that I could have one more railing in here just to smooth it around. I went in and I added in these little kind of roof things on top of these. This one sticks out a little bit too much to my liking, so I'm just gonna go like that. And then I just gotta look around for any other little details I might want to change. I think I'll add something in here. Maybe it can just be like kind of a window into there, just for a little bit more. So let's grab our window bits. And then just breaks up the very flat area there. I also, in the time as you saw, I built in these areas, just filled it in. Now for the texturing. So first thing I want to do, grab this. So I'm only affecting these ones. I want to grab a noise painter. So we're going to do this one. And how I usually find a good noise, so I'm going to grab cobble, and I'm just going to use this color picker here. Then I can find something that's of similar color, and then I use that as a similar texture. So I'm going to go smooth basalt here. So now if I go back here, I'll grab the smooth basalt as my second one. I'm going to lower the scale a little bit, not quite to 1, but I think 2 works. And then I'm just going to paint around here. And that just adds a little detail on the floor here. I'm going to go in with these stairs. So to check this, I have to pick a stair that's of similar color. So either these deep slates look good. So I think I'm going to go for the polished deep slate. So it's a little harder when you do it for this. So if I go to this, so I want to use these stairs and then the polished. So that's going to mess up a little thing. You can see it's really just grabbed everything I could. So I want to undo that. And I'm just going to manually, so just pick a couple that I want to change. Go around and see how that looks. All right, so I've added in the variations using the deep slate of the cobbled and the polished. With that and the slabs, I've gone around, fixed those up. In here, I made sure to have the backing so it's all cobbled deep slate. Came over here, got our armor stand for something they're working on, and then our coal yard. So just a little area where they can store it. I'll probably mess up the ground because we don't want it to be grass. We want it to be all kind of beat up because they're constantly tossing coal into here. I'll probably make a little wagon maybe carrying some coal currently. I also made a couple adjustments just going back and forth, just a little bit more detail onto this here just for the forge, just to make it look a little cooler. But that seems to be the end of today's video. I've gotten the entire blacksmith done, so that's another addition to the village here. Let's go all the way up in the sky, just a little bit more. So it's really starting to fill out. Once we get all the buildings in, we can start adding in little things like in between to kind of fill in the gaps, because we got things like this that right now I have no plans for. But maybe I could just add a tree or bench or something just to fill in these really open areas. I'll of course go around with bone meal just so I can liven up, sort of like what I've done back here, but just all the way around, just to liven it up. So I can maybe just go and add in a little bit now, since we've got these areas are done. So I missed it on the last episode for the tower, so we can just go in and add a little bit around the tower, make it a little bit more overgrown. And now we can do it around the blacksmith as well. So just around the edge. Then I'm gonna just do a quick line here. So I know where to come in with the brush and then paint in that. One here and out in front. So you can kind of fill in these gaps. We go like this along the edge. That really does make it look a lot more lived in and not so flat like the rest of the areas. So it's nice and handy. The blacksmith can supply our marketplace here, or they can come up and make maybe like custom orders and stuff like that. But that is the end of today's episode. If you enjoyed, please leave a like and subscribe for more videos coming soon. Until next time.